Hello, world. Here with me today is a woman who, for 9 years, found herself doing incredible and phenomenal giant things at Google, and then ended up moving over to YouTube. With a true passion for video and a marketing leader like no other, please welcome Tal Sariq, CMO of Powtoon, to the show. Tal, are you ready to get radically transparent with me?
Oh, definitely.
That is the answer that I love to hear. Not that you would, if you said no, maybe, we'd probably keep going anyway. I wouldn't let you off the camera. But with that said, I'm really interested, CMO, marketing leader, you're doing a lot of really interesting things. Would you be able to give us a brief? Because I know you have a whole background. So a brief look at your professional journey and how you actually found yourself as CMO at Powtoon.
Okay. So I started my career as a marketeer in a world where digital was very, 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 small, in Unilever and the food service division. A lot of time ago, almost 20 years ago, I was a management trainee here in Unilever Israel. And I think it was the best kickoff for a marketing career because I got to learn from the ground up. I was literally running around Tel Aviv selling 5 kilo mayo to restaurants and hotels and caterings, and got to really understand how you get really customer insights from the bottom up. So I spent some time in Unilever, not all the time running around carrying mayonnaise, most of the time as a marketeer, in the food service and then in the customer marketing team. And then one day I saw careers at Google. I clicked, and 6 months later, I was part of the early founding team of Google Israel. I joined there as a PMM. I was the second person in the marketing team. And when I came to Mountain View to meet my fellow product marketeers, like they asked me, what are you working for on? And, people used to say, like, I work on the sign up page of Google, of Gmail, or I work on Google Reader. That guy was actually founding later Instagram. But I worked on everything. Like, our main goal was to get small businesses to advertise on Google, leveraging on my B2B insights and experience, but B2B marketing experience. But, I was, marketing all Google products to all audiences. And while I did get focused over the years, I did touch every marketing, like every audience a marketer, touches: consumer, developers, businesses, policymakers, like really advertisers, big and small, enterprise. So I had a very, 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 very great time in Google. Most of the time in Google, I was marketing YouTube, mostly as a media, not to the consumer. So I think there I fell in love with video and with video creators. I was working a lot with the video creators on YouTube. And basically, they helped us sell the platform to advertisers. And also, I was managing Shopping IL, which is the Cyber Monday version of Israel. We actually brought this to Israel. We launched a holiday.
I love it. We launched a holiday. Not many
We
marketers
launched
can say that.
holiday. I think that's like definitely my biggest marketing achievement. We started a holiday. We recruited, we work with the community. We work with influencers all in like 2014, 2015, before, community and influencer were a thing, right? And so I got to experiment a lot. And it was a lot of fun. But I wanted to stay in Israel, and in order to move up in Google, I had to get out of Israel. And at some point, I decided that it's time for me to spread my wings and leave the motherboard. So after 9 amazing, amazing years in Google Israel, working with people from around the world, and also launching a startup pre-accelerator without intending to, with Campus for Moms, which was a baby-friendly startup school we launched in Campus Tel Aviv as a side project for me. I really had like to go to do some, startup marketing. The couple of years after Google, I was freelancing, working with my ex-Googler friend, Eyal Miller at Samsung Next in Tel Aviv, which was amazing. I worked with their customers, with their investing company they invested in. Some of them, become really big, like Stream Elements and others. Ever since, and after that, I joined Wix. It
Okay.
was a short stint as the head of marketing for Wix SSM. Was a short but sweet stint. Then I moved to the small startup board, to work with Upright, and I've been in Powtoon since January this year.
Okay. So January 2021. So after the chaotic year of the world and then the
Yeah.
sequel. Got it. Got it. So listen, I've got a ton of questions for you. I'll try to be gentle, but as you know, the name of our show is Radically Transparent, and we do try to get pretty transparent. So what I want to ask next is, knowing that you've worked in so many different facets and areas of marketing, and knowing too the challenges that Powtoon may be facing, and then add on top of that your hat as CMO, which is no easy job. There's never enough time in a day. What is keeping you up at night professionally as the CMO of Powtoon?
The one thing that keeps me up, and I think every CMO of a SaaS company in Israel and probably around the world, is building the right team. Uh, talent, in Israel, we have amazing talent and great competition on any person, and
You have a great team behind you. It's good.
yeah, I do have. Yeah, just someone entered the room. So yeah, I have great team, and I want to grow it. So I'm looking for senior marketeers. If you're interested, feel free to outreach to me. I'm always happy to meet new people, and even if I don't have a role, like I think one of my proudest achievement is getting a lot of people their jobs. I really like to do scouting for people and helping people find a way. So if anyone needs help, and just outreach to me.
I love that. And, I want to go back to, the thing that's keeping you up in terms of building the right team, because I've been speaking to a lot of marketing leaders, and that comes up, I'd say, 9 times out of 10 in every conversation. And there's so much that goes into building that right team. It's so much more than somebody's talent, right? What are you looking for when you're building your team? So you know what? There's also another piece to this question. What are you looking for when you're building that team? But also, what do you feel makes the best team for you?
So I look for, first of all, I have a raw idea of where I want to do, where I want to be in a year, in 2 years' time. So I'm trying to build a team for that time frame, because companies always change, and I'm looking for people that have some experience doing the stuff that I want to get done, some experience there, and a lot of passion, highly intelligent people. I'm looking for marketing geeks, people who are really passionate, really care, really want, to learn new stuff, or not afraid of trying new things, and that learn very, very quickly. Though in the senior position that I currently look, I do need some experience, but passion and intelligence are extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've seen that the most successful marketeers that I know use both sides of brain, analytical and creative. But I do feel comfortable like having a mix of people. So some people would be more creative, some people would be more analytical. I think it's all about creating the right mix of people. So like if someone in the team is highly organized, I can afford to take to have someone who thinks more intuitively and creatively. And I'm just trying to get, I don't need everything in one person, but I need the team as a whole to be, both able to imagine and then execute whatever needs to be done. And all needs to be definitely, data-led, KPI-led. I believe that KPI is like a lasso. You stand into the future and pull whatever you want to pull. That's like the way I imagine that. So I need people who work with targets, who are great project managers, but more of all, most of all, like marketing geeks, and although also people, who are just like, I wouldn't say I'd love to have a beer with because I don't like beer, but
Either.
but people that are that are like in the right pace. In my team, people need to think fast because I'm a fast thinker, but I do love having some slow thinkers to balance that also. But I need people that move fast, that are in the attitude of get the right thing done, get shit done, and just enjoy each other company.
Absolutely. And I love your analogy of the lasso. I mean, all that comes to mind is like marketing Wonder Woman, right? Because doesn't Wonder Woman also have the lasso of truth? So I love that analogy. It's like very fitting. But yeah, listen, I think building the right team, it's much easier said than done. Especially in today's climate, right? It's something that the players you need, but to find them and to encourage them to join the team, right? There's so many opportunities right now. My
Definitely.
next question around the team, and then I'm going to move to a different topic. But what I'm seeing across different marketing teams, and I'm curious to hear your perspective, is that you kind of have marketing is changing so fast. Like we're talking about, like we're quick thinkers, and we also know platforms and technology and trends. And in marketing, it's ridiculous. Like literally one day you plan for something, and then the next day it could be a completely different dynamic kind of piece of whatever plan you've made. It's changed, or marketing platforms in terms of measurement KPIs, they are changing fast. I'm curious to know, when you bring in new team members or you have your current team members, what are you doing at Powtoon to keep your team upskilled or leveled up, if you will, with the ever-changing climate of the marketing industry?
So we're not afraid to experiment, and we are also not afraid to ask for help. I encourage all my team members to broaden their network, to meet other marketeers, to offer help to other companies, and to get help in return. I believe that in Israel, especially, the startup ecosystem is extremely collaborative. So building that network and asking for help, even if you don't have a network, just find the right Facebook group and ask for help. That usually gets, great people to help you. So, admit what you don't know and don't be afraid to tell it to the world, and like ask for help, and, help in return whenever someone asks for help. There is so much stuff you can learn online. All the platforms have, customer success people that who are there to help you. So I always encourage, especially my ops team, just go and ask the platforms. Like, they are the people who, like, you're not the first marketeer to have trouble importing that data to that platform. So just ask them if it's possible. They know how to do it. If it's not possible, we'll think of another hack. But don't be, like, you cannot, don't waste too much time, searching what CSM and help centers can do for you. And another important thing to follow up with the market is, do not get confused by all those technologies, by all those titles. Like, I never understood, the buzzword titles, growth marketeer, product marketeer, um, user acquisition. I think at the heart of any marketeer, like, there is a marketeer, and a marketeer is someone who needs to follow the user, to really understand the user, talk to them, understand which platforms they are in, and just follow them. They should be your North Guide, they, and obviously your KPIs.
I think that's a valuable point, and I love how transparent you just got about that, right? You have all these fancy schmancy titles, all these fancy schmancy pieces of technology that do help us do our jobs better. But if you are a marketeer without the basic 101 of a marketeer, you'll easily get sucked up and lost. And I think that that's some excellent advice, whether you're a marketing leader, swimming the current, or, a practitioner. I want to pause for a moment and shift into a topic that I know you're quite an expert about. You give a show-stopping, worthy of ovation, standing ovation presentation that I've had the opportunity to look through, which is called 5 Questions to Kick Off Your Growth Marketing. And while I know we don't have time to go through the whole presentation on this podcast, and perhaps we should bring this to a webinar soon, I was hoping you might be able to, like, in a soundbite or a nugget, share with us what are those 5 questions we should be thinking and how we should be approaching them. And this could be the teaser to a webinar that we're going to do together to get more details about this amazing presentation.
Great, thank you. So the presentation is actually based on a very, very simple and old concept of marketing, which is a brief. But I just had to rename it, in a sexy way, because the brief sounds so old style and boring and, old time advertising. But I felt that especially at Google, when we had this brief, and this presentation is based on my learning from that brief. And I always felt like I know everything about my market. I've been doing that job for 5, 7, 8, 9 years. Why do I need to have the brief? I know everything. People should just listen to me and they get stuff done. But every time I seriously did the work and went through those questions, my plans just got 10x better. Obviously, my communication got 10x better, but also the way my thinking evolved throughout this process. So I think this is really my number one tip for new marketeers, and every one of my friends who start a new marketing job get this presentation from me, and they all tell me that this is the way they nailed their first big marketing plan presentation to their new managers, because that's really the basics. So the number one question, so I will just review quickly the questions. So the first one is what do you want to achieve, right? It's what are the goals? Second question would be, who is your target audience? Third question is kind of a cheat because it's a mix of 3 questions. It's what is this audience thinking, feeling, and doing now? What do you want them to think, feel, and do? And how would you convey that message? The fourth question is, how would you tell them that? Which channels, what's the marketing plan? That's actually the actual plan part. And the fifth and very, very important question, how would you measure that? And how would you know that it's working? And do you want to start, talking about each point?
So I think what I want to ask is more around marketing leadership and how, when you look at these 5 questions, where do you think the gap may be in terms of the marketing leaders kind of executing these 5 questions? Or where do you think we don't hit the nail on the head as in that leadership level, or in terms of communicating these 5, very key kind of marketing 101 growth hacks? But where can CMOs do better in this, in your opinion?
So I think there are obstacles and minds along each of them. The first question, what do you want to achieve, is actually sometimes very hard for people to set a smart goal, measurable goals, because nothing like that. We never did lead outreach to this audience. So how do we know how much leads we can get, right? We never did it. Sometimes even the founder doesn't even the founder or the CEO or the management team doesn't really know how would success look like. So here I'm a fan of benchmark. Just Google benchmark for that and that. Just have some number, some kind of funnel that you can build back.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than nothing. And obviously all the time you need to refine that, but you really need to make sure that those numbers are highly connected to the business strategy, to the business goal. Make sure if you need number of users, revenue, design partners, you have all kind of stages of a company. At one stage you may want to focus on one vertical, one type of users. It's you don't care about all the other type of users, you want to grow specific verticals. So it's really, really, really important to just make those goals very, very clear, because they are basically the North Star. And then finding the right audience. I think most CMOs, understand the difference between, the purchase, the approver, the decision making, and the user, and that they're not the same. And I always give the analogy of the cereal aisle, you know, especially the kids cereal
I was
aisle in
gonna
the
laugh. I have a
supermarket.
toddler, so I hate the cereal aisle now.
I know it's very hard. And I used to be, making your life harder, right? We used to go to the retailers and ask them, show them the new products and explain to them why we developed them and why they're worth good place on the planogram. And then, so we had to move across that stage and to get the whole, retailer chain to believe in the product and to give it visibility or special prices or whatever. And then you need to invest the buyer, which is the parent, and you need to also convince the kid that this is tasty, right? So you have, and it's like very symptomatic way to do it, but this you have it also in B2B marketing. You have the people who actually brings you through the door, which is the purchase. So you cannot buy something that is not approved or whatever, depend on your buying cycle. And then like you have the decision maker and the user and the whole, like you need to think of the three of those personas if they exist in order to make a successful sale. But that's pretty much the easy part. I think a lot of marketers miss out feelings in the first part, in the third part. I hate the term B2B because what I learned is we are human to human. We are animals selling or marketing to other animals, and animals brains are working with our feelings led. And we always have to keep in mind like what do the people we address feel now, understand their emotional state, um, their it's it's sometimes like more important than the thing they say in the conversation. A lot of the time you can understand a lot just by listening to the tone and to the it's like how do they feel about the problem that you're solving them. So I think feelings are really important, and I think every good marketing campaign works takes you to some kind of an emotional journey, even if it is just a B2B product, and it makes you from overwhelmed and confused to to the feeling that you got everything under control. Okay, that's like a legit feeling, or how it will help you boost your place in or the organization by making that decision, or how it's like how confident you would be like in Powtoon, right? It's like if you're really really shy and like you feel like speaking and giving presentations is awkward for you, and instead of beginning the presentation with like stuttering, but just showing a nice video that opens up the topic, you can actually change the atmosphere in the room and gain confidence. So for example, in Powtoon, like we really want to make people feel awesome, feel that they created something boring and banal into something really really engaging and not boring. Our biggest enemy in Powtoon is boredom. So we're really trying to help people who don't know how to make videos or interesting content. We try to give them the platform that helps them do that in a way that really makes them confident and feel awesome and feel like they're really the best they can be.
I love
So
that. I do have a question. Now, there might not be a right, or there might not be an answer to this at all, but I'm curious as a marketing leader. I agree with you 1000% that oftentimes marketeers, we miss the boat when it's about how does this make you feel? And in B2B marketing, it's also, I think, like sometimes we forget. And then 2020 came along and everybody's using the buzzwords authentic and empathy and, personalization. And it's all having to do with, right, how is this making somebody feel? But
yeah,
in a world today where we're really trying to understand and be data driven when it comes to marketing, and I've heard a term, I'll share in a moment, but how are you measuring, or how should we be measuring emotion? Can it be measured?
I'm not sure. Not everything can be measured. And I think you mentioned the word empathy, and I think that's like the key word in marketing that people are not talking about. I think without being empathetic and being able to place yourself in the shoes of your customer, you will not get far, right? I like Omar Shai from Wix, for example, has all the time, customer websites open. Like he has like, and in Wix, there is a tool that, you can have a Chrome extension that, opens website, all the time, whenever time so you really get to see what people are doing and get a feel for that. And I think, yeah, sometimes you just need to immerse yourself in the life of the customers. When I wanted to understand YouTubers back in 2014, I just watched them. Like I just, moved from one to another by the YouTube, just infrastructure, UX. And then I called them and I invited them to the office and I talked to them. So if I want to understand a customer, I just go and talk to him. Obviously, there are tools like NPS, which are great. And
Mhm.
the way I like to use NPS is Net Promoter Score, for someone who doesn't know,
Mhm.
is to like, I think that the biggest teachers to the value and to the positive feeling that the product can evoke are those who are promoters, those who give us 9 or 10. So I read their feedback. Like I know, like it's easy to focus on what people don't like about the product, say, but they're not going to teach you a lot of stuff. Like you already know that. The important thing is to understand why people love the product. So I really, try to talk to those kind of people, like email them, to get feedback, to have like really actual conversation over Zoom so I can see them. Um, I also, there is this quote of Tolstoy, the opening of Anna Karenina, that all the happy families, are the same and each miserable family is miserable in its own way. So this what leads me here. Like I'm really trying to, like, what consists a happy customer? Like, who are they? What do they use the product for? What feedback they get from their surrounding, from their internal customers. So I think NPS is a good tool. NPS is segmenting the NPS by type of users help you learn more about in Powtoon. I like teachers say different things about Powtoon than businesses. So if I want to understand how businesses feel about Powtoon, I will focus on that. I will reach out to those users, or any other key audience that I have in mind.
It's so refreshing to hear you speak about that, I think, because in every question you've answered thus far, all I hear is you customer first, user first. And I think that's so refreshing to hear. And I'm almost, there's a big joke, right, in marketing. There's so many acronyms, but I'm going to throw another one out, right? Perhaps, maybe we need ROE, right? Return of emotion.
That's interesting. That's interesting. But I do think we have enough. I think like that the one one acronym we need to remember is like user, user, user. Because in Google we had like this saying, a marketeer needs to know the user, know the magic, because technology is magic, right? It's magic that you can explain, but it's magic.
I love it.
And connect the two. So
I love
know the user, know the magic, connect the two. And I think that's the role of the marketeer. And any technology is magic. Like if you think of the word that our parents grew up, it's like what happens now is plain magic.
I love that. I think that brings us perfectly to close out the show, but not without asking my famous last question. I am dying to know, Tal, what's one thing that you can tell us about yourself that we cannot find out on LinkedIn? And I'm going to add some more for you because I know you were a Googler, so you can't find out on Google, you can't find out on LinkedIn, and I also know you were a YouTuber at one point, so you can't find out from YouTube either.
Yeah, you can only find out if you dig through my Instagram. um so I love video. I even love video makers more, but I love, like, I just read all the time and fiction.
Okay.
uh, I have a debate between me and my Kindle Analytics, because they said, I missed a day, and I think they're wrong. But I'm reading every day. I read mostly fiction. If I listen to nonfiction and to podcasts to learn new stuff, but when I want to really immerse myself in something and I have a good book, I'm there. And I think that develops a lot of empathy and imagination. And I think I find it very, like, I'm always happy when I interview someone and like they say, no, I actually read a lot. I don't like watch that video much. That I think that's great. So interview tip. And the best thing someone could give me is a book recommendation, because I read so fast and so much that I have a special heart in my mind, in my heart, for people who help me discover great books.
So, fun fact lightning round. Tell us fictionally, what are you reading currently? And in terms of podcasts, which other ones do you recommend for marketing learning?
So I just finished a book by Nomi Novik, which is a writer that my friend Hedva helped me find. It's a part of a fantasy series that's called Deadly Education. That's the second installment that I read.
Okay.
Nomi Novik is an excellent words creator. You know, she creates words for you, and she writes historical fiction and you know, it's not really fantasy, but great books. So look for Nomi Novik's book, and you can start with Deadly Education. It starts very weird, but it captivates you. Also, podcast. So I'm kind of a podcast fast at the moment, but I do love the Startup that Monday, the series that Monday have.
It's a good one.
And another great podcast that I used to listen to a lot is How I Built It by Guy Raz. It
Also
tells
a
you
good one.
really, you know, behind the scenes of everything. For the Hebrew speaker, you have Eran Geffen podcast where he interviews Israeli marketeers, which is really insightful, and I love Eran personally. And what else? And I think, like, the most important, like, I would also try to you have, like, you can find tools like SparkToro that can help you find podcasts that your audience listen to, and I think this is also
Ooh.
really important.
The plot thickens. So we're definitely going to have our pulse on that, because that is an interesting look to see what our audience, right? How are they feeling? What are they listening to? Very interesting. So with that, super last question. Anybody listening today, they want to join your team, they want to learn more about Powtoon, they want to talk marketing, get some advice, where is the best channel to connect with you?
LinkedIn, that would be the best. If you want to look for jobs, like, our jobs are updated on the Powtoon LinkedIn board, and also on the Powtoon job site. We hide nothing, and always feel free to reach out to me. Please be patient if I'm in a busy time, but I usually get back to people who ask for help, and I'm always happy to meet new marketing talents. Even if you don't plan to join Powtoon at the moment and you have a question, ping me, and if I can't answer, I will help you find someone who can.
Tal, you are one incredible and inspiring marketing leader. Thank you so much for joining me today to get radically transparent, and we look forward to hopefully having you back real soon.
Sure, I would love that. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for hosting me, Jen.
Thanks for tuning in to the Radically Transparent podcast, brought to you by Octopost, the only social media management and employee advocacy platform architected for B2B. I'm Jennifer Gutman, your host and director of social strategy here at Octopost. And if you love today's show, we'd love if you subscribe, rate, and give a raving review wherever you get your podcasts. For more discussion on B2B social media marketing, be sure to follow Octopost on LinkedIn. And of course, to gain access to all our free social media marketing and employee advocacy resources, head on over to our website, www.octopost.com. Until next time.